Well, it's not all fun and games, and it's not all over. And what did he say? What did what's his name say when he was found not guilty? Scot Peterson of the not endangering children. He was like, "I got my life back. I got his life back. Your life's not quite back yet, Scott. Sorry to break it to you." A reenactment took place just the other week at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School, or the structure that was once Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School. The act that was taking place there was reenacting the shooting, trying to understand the sound of the gun, the where you would hear it, how you would hear it, because there is a civil lawsuit against Scot Peterson. The initiative has stirred significant interest and discussion among people in the area, and it's been organized as part of that civil lawsuit against Scot Peterson and his employing body, the Broward Sheriff's Office. Of course, we're going back to 2018, where 17 children lost their lives, 17 injured, in a mere span of 6 minutes. Why? Well, because there was a shooter on campus, and the officer that was there to protect stood outside. AP News informed that specialized ballistic experts engaged by the families of the victims will lead the reenactment. A key objective of the exercise was to meticulously record the sound of gunfire from various locations outside of the school. This will help simulate the auditory environment Peterson was in, enabling a clearer understanding of what he might have heard during the terrifying ordeal. This is what you'd call an expert witness. Is what this is. They're going in and they are trying to recreate what happened so they can actually answer some of those questions of, did he truly not hear this or couldn't tell where they were coming from? How confusing actually was this? Which that in itself is up to conjecture. One person may hear something and say, I can totally decipher this. The other person may be just as clueless. I think it kind of comes down to IQ at a certain point. Previously in June, a court verdict found Scot Peterson not guilty of felony neglect, among other charges related to his perceived inaction during the tragedy. Notably, he was the first law enforcement officer to be charged with a child neglect in a capacity of caregiver. Prosecutors argued that his role as a school resource officer mandated him to safeguard the school's populace. One would think that would be true. Well, according to the law, and now I guess case law, not the case, because he's free. Peterson's defense centered around the claim that he could not distinctly hear or locate the source of gunshots due to echoing sounds. He mentioned that he had approached the building, weapon drawn, but then chose to withdraw. According to him, he took cover next to a nearby structure and remained engaged in radio communication for a duration of 40 fucking minutes. Peterson firmly stated that he had been certain of the shooter's location within the building. If he had been, rather, he would have taken immediate action. But of course, the next sensible thing to do is stand outside for 40 minutes, trying to, I don't know, figure it out. Is he like going online, looking at blueprints of the school, going maybe over here, maybe over there? No, He was just a coward. The families behind the civil suit offer a stark contrast in perspective. They believe that Peterson was well aware of the shooter's whereabouts and chose to retreat, which he did, possibly out of fear. Yeah, thereby neglecting his sworn duty. Tony Montelio, president of Stand with Parkland, and the grieving father whose 14-year-old daughter, Gina, was a victim of the shooting, stated, while Peterson might have been cleared of criminal charges, in no way absolves him of the responsibility to act rightfully. Montello further stressed, this reenactment aims to challenge and potentially debunk certain statements made during the criminal trial. An important development was the announcement by Circuit Judge Carol Lisa Phillips on July 12th, while she permitted the attorneys from both sides to produce a video based on the reenactment. She remained non-committal as to its use during the actual trial. As of now, the trial date is not set. The reenactment promises to be precise. Experts, they have said they're going to fire up to 139 live rounds within a 3-story classroom building, mirroring the shooter's actions during or using an identical AR-15 style semi-automatic rifle to ensure complete safety during the exercise. All bullets will be captured using a specialized safety apparatus. However, questions about the audio accuracy have been raised. Robert Marr, an expert from Montana State University, mentioned to AP News that the reenactment might not capture the true essence of gunfire sounds. According to him, real-life gunfire sounds are piercingly sharp, something that speakers might not be able to reproduce perfectly because they're recording this. Professor Tamara Lave from the University of Miami Law offered an insightful observation, and deciding factor for Judge Phillips would be whether the reenactment provides a fair and accurate representation of what Peterson might have heard. Here's what Peterson heard. Pop, 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 pop.
Yeah.
And then he went outside. Or he never went in. So he heard gunshot. We know he heard gunshot. As far as hearing it this way or that way or what he thought was questionable, that's very much up for conjecture on what he claims he believes he heard or said, and he's not changing that opinion. That's clear. The reenactments announced, of course, generated a lot of mixed emotion. Parkland informed its residents, with some expressing deep concern about potential trauma. Sarah Franco, director of Eagles Haven, a community wellness center established post the shooting, emphasized the importance of collective healing. They'll be offering various activities such as yoga and Tai Chi, and providing solace to those affected. Concluding the reenactment, Broward County Public Schools has announced it is going to tear down the building, making the end of a painful chapter in its history. Scot Peterson is a character that I would say I was starting to have a little more sympathy for as this trial went on. I never really knew if he was someone who should be put away for life. Is that the appropriate punishment for something like this? He's going to be living in shame for the rest of his life. That's for sure. And if he's not, there's no punishment that's going to make him feel shame. And that's one of those things that I think is very difficult when it comes to a trial and any sort of verdict. The victims, everyone's seeking justice. And the biggest piece of justice I think everyone wants is for that individual who is charged with the crime to show remorse. And so often they don't. And he showed up and he was elated when he was found not guilty. And the statements that he made afterwards, it was what made me really hate this man. Prior to that, I was like, yeah, this is just such a sad situation overall. Then he spoke. And that's what ruined it for me. Especially when he started saying, oh, the families can come talk to me. They can come and I'll tell them what really happened there. Really, dude? That's really what you're going to say to the victims of the families, the kids that you failed to protect? Come talk to you? Go have coffee? Go have a chiller or something? Have a Slurpee together and you're going to tell them how it really is?
It's not going to give the families any sort of closure. It's going to make them more angry that he didn't step up and do what he could have done. That's the issue here. And this whole reenactment, sound, you and I, it being from a radio background, we know about audio. We know about sound and how it bounces off of things. Even different weather conditions can make sound different. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure what they're going to achieve by this other than traumatizing people.
Well, I mean, they're going to record it. I don't really know what the point of that is. What you should have there is, if this is going to be a civil jury trial, you would wait until the jury can actually be present to hear. Yeah. Because putting the tape recorder and playing this back in court, unless you recorded that thing in Dolby 5.1 surround, which I'm sure they didn't, it's going to sound like gunshots. That's what you're going to record. I don't really know what the purpose is. The only thing that would make sense is if you truly brought a jury or a judge or whoever's making the decision there so they can experience the sound themselves and make a sound judgment, no pun intended.
Yeah, I mean, they should, if you really want to show what this situation really felt like, put the jury in the building in a safe place, but have somebody firing and maybe right where he was, where Scot Peterson was sitting.
Yeah, that's what they should do.
That's exactly how they would know how this is going to go. And that's not what they did. Yeah. So it's just, to me, it just seems like a futile exercise.
It really does. I don't think it was handled in a true scientific way that would make a whole lot of sense here. Even the judge saying, go ahead and do what you're going to do, but we can't guarantee we're going to admit this into the actual case itself. I'm going to make a prediction that the civil case is going to find him guilty, even though the criminal one found him innocent. And what
I think you're right.
Now, as far as what they're going to get out of Scot Peterson, probably not much. Because I think people are at, well, what? He probably doesn't have a lot. He doesn't. I mean, he's a retired officer. I can't imagine. And he's not like rolling in dough over there. But here's what they are going after. Because they're not just going after him. They are going after the actual police themselves, the employer of Scot Peterson, the Broward Sheriff's Office. And they have money. Maybe not a ton, but there is likely an insurance policy there that will pay out. And that would be likely the goal of this. I just hope they find some sort of justice. Money's not going to bring your kids back whatsoever, obviously. But I get that. They're seeking, they want some form of justice. And I can only hope that they finally do get it.
You're locked into the Hidden Killers podcast.
Want more? Start binging on all of our true crime podcasts right now through Apple Podcasts and get an ad-free experience when you sign up to be a True Crime Today Premium Plus member exclusively on Apple Podcasts.
More of the Hidden Killers podcast dropping soon.
Press subscribe now.